From the WBBZ studio at the Eastern Hills Mall, this is Sports Wrap-Up with Bob Koshinski. Sponsored by Dewville College, educating for life. Reimer Heating and Air Conditioning. Call the Wizard of Comfort to get your $89 super tune-up for your furnace today. And Just Pizza. Don't just order pizza tonight, order Just Pizza. Now, here is Bob Koshinski.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sports Wrap-Up. Bob Koshinski in our WBBZ studios located here in the Eastern Hills Mall. Great show lined up for you. The topic tonight, football and hockey. We'll be having Paul Peck in studio talking about the UB football Bulls because next week we have a special recruit signing show, and Paul's going to give us his prediction on the Super Bowl. Also, we'll be taking a look at the Tim Hortons Backyard 3-on-3 Hockey Championships. You're going to love that feature. First, let's take a look at the Buffalo Sabres. Miguel Grigorenko, he is staying with the team. He'll be playing tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs at the First Niagara Center. That game's on at 7:30. And there is a little issue whether or not he's going to stay or not. He got his 5 games in. They finally pulled the trigger today. Grigorenko staying with the team. Super Bowl coming up Sunday. There is a chicken wing shortage. I hope you've stocked up. Next Monday night, a special on WBBZ. It is Karen Reese and Robert Saviola. The name of the show, Secrets from Beyond, 9 o'clock, February 4th. Karen Reese has the ability to look into the future and talk to dead people. So we had Karen in the studio a little earlier this week. I said, Karen, Super Bowl's coming up. Give us a prediction. She says, Bob, I don't like to give Super Bowl predictions because I don't want gamblers harassing me. But she was able to give me a small tidbit. Let's take a look.
Well, Bob, I prefer not to answer who's going to actually win the Super Bowl, but what I can tell you, there is going to be a very unusual run.
Unusual run. So watch the game Sunday. If there's a reverse for a touchdown or a 100-yard kickoff return, remember, Karen Reese predicted it. You can catch her Monday night, 9 o'clock, Secrets from Beyond. Right now, we're going to take a look at something else that's going to take place Sunday, and those, of course, are Super Bowl commercials. Many people watch the game only for the commercials. Doritos put together a feature we want to run for you tonight. These are the finalists for the Doritos Super Bowl Commercial Championship. Let's take a look.
Hi everybody, it's Allie Landry. Some of you may also know me as the Doritos Girl. 15 years ago, my life changed overnight. My Hollywood acting career was launched in great part because of an appearance in a Doritos Super Bowl ad called Laundromat. An ad that was shot in a laundromat just like the one we're in right now. 30 seconds on the world's biggest advertising stage helped catapult my career. And as I celebrate 15 years as the Doritos Girl, I couldn't be more excited to partner with the Doritos brand to announce the 5 finalists from this year's Crash the Super Bowl program. The 5 finalists who are vying for a life-changing opportunity just like the one I had. For the last 7 years, the Doritos brand has invited consumers to create homemade Doritos ads to air during the Super Bowl broadcast. And Doritos fans have delivered year after year. I bet this time around it will be no different. After all, there are some major prizes on the line in this year's contests. The creator of the Doritos spot that ranks highest on the USA Today ad meter will win the chance to work with acclaimed filmmaker Michael Bay on the next installment of the blockbuster Transformers movie franchise. If a Doritos ad takes the top spot in the USA Today ad meter rankings, its creator will win a $1 million bonus. By the way, Doritos fans have scored #1 on the USA Today ad meter 3 of the last 4 years. And this year promises to be another exciting year. Ready to see who the 5 finalists are? Here are the final 5 in alphabetical order. Goat for Sale comes to us from Ben Callner, a 28-year-old from Atlanta, Georgia. How did his spot come to be? It took 2,000 popsicle sticks, 150 bags of Doritos, and a goat named Moose. The second spot Road Trip is from Tyler Dixon, a 37-year-old from San Diego, California, who now lives in Los Angeles. This spot required the ultimate casting call. Tyler auditioned 40 toddlers and perused more than 100 dog photos to find the perfect toddler-dog duo.
That's my toy. Bad.
What's wrong? Do you want a Dorito?
It's mine.
Here you go. Last one.
That's so cheese.
Mark Freeberger, a 29-year-old from Charlotte, North Carolina, now living in Los Angeles, directed Fashionista Daddy.
Daddy, can you play Princess Fashion Shows with me?
Sweetheart, I'd love to, but the guys, they're outside waiting for me.
We got Doritos.
Steve, what is the holdup? Go Neil! Go Neil!
Is that my wedding dress?
It could be.
The biggest expense for Fashionista Daddy? Those frilly, fabulous party dresses for 5 grown men. The entire crew lost it when they first catwalked onto the set in full makeup and dresses. The fourth spot, Express Checkout, is created by 32-year-old Californian Sasha Shimarani. Sasha's inspiration for his spot comes from growing up working in his uncle's grocery store.
28. 29. 30. I'm getting there, honey. 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. Is that the right amount, dear?
Unfortunately for the lead actor, it took nearly 50 takes to nail that crotch shot with the phrase, "Are you okay?" being the most popular saying on set. 31-year-old Joe Toronto, a native of Melbourne, Florida, and now living in Los Angeles, directed Fetch.
Do not play fetch. Thanks, Grandma. Why don't you fetch me some Doritos? Fetch me a bag full of Doritos. Fetch me a bear naked.
Cool fact, Fetch's most unique cast member is a world-renowned bear performer. Really, the actor performs on stages around the world in a variety of bear suits.
Pretty funny stuff, and obviously we want to thank Doritos for providing us with those commercials. When we come back, Paul Peck will talk about the Super Bowl and the UB Bulls. We'll be back on Sports Wrap-Up right after this. Welcome back to Sports Wrap-Up. Back in our WBBZ studios, we have with us now Paul Peck, who not only is the voice of the UB Bulls, and we're going to be talking about UB football in just a minute, but, of course, Paul, you've covered the NFL for years and years, and it's Super Bowl week.
Yeah,
and,
I heard that.
Yeah, and, back in the day, we were both on those yearly junkets with the Bills, traveling. So, today, Tuesday is Media Day.
Right.
And, I think, thinking about it and hearing some of the talk shows, maybe the need for Media Day has kind of come and gone because, every day now the NFL they have their own network, they've got their own websites. I mean, it's not like you just have one day out of the week where you're going to get the stories. But being there at the Super Bowl is going to be interesting to see what some of the stories that came out of today's event.
Even when we were there for the Bills in the 90s, Media Day was starting to become a bit of an odd, goofy sort of a event and not really media. You almost felt funny asking football questions because there were people there asking about fashion and about models and MTV VJs and all that kind of stuff. So you're right. I think it becomes more of a day for the non-sports media than it does for the guys who actually want to know, how the Ravens defensive line is going to stop the 49ers running game.
There's a great hook this year, and that's the fact that the Harbaugh brothers are brothers in coaching against each other, but they don't seem to want to partake in that conversation.
Yeah, and I guess I could understand why. I mean, they probably want to keep the distance because somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. I mean, I would assume from their perspective, if they look at it as their brother, it might make them think about it differently as opposed to I've just got to beat that team from the NFC if I'm John Harbaugh. But it's a great story. I mean, what an incredible. When you delve a little deeper into their family history, their dad was a very successful college coach, and I mean, what a cool story about two kids who were raised essentially in the family business to be at the pinnacle of their careers.
But think of the family dynamic now. Now, as a father of sons, you're euphoric when they both make it. But now somebody's going to be a loser of the Super Bowl.
True.
So for the rest of their lives, at every Thanksgiving dinner, whatever family function, there's a winner and there's a loser.
And it sounds like that will be brought up at every family function based on the little dynamic that you get between the two of them. But, well, I mean, you could flip it around and say, I'm going to have a son who's going to be a Super Bowl champion. So, you could look at it both ways. And, I can't imagine what the Harbaugh parents are going through. I mean, how proud they must be. But, yeah, I guess there'll be a little bit of a tear at it. Because how do you watch a game where if it's a big play for one team, you're excited, but but the other one isn't going to like that,
Yeah. The game itself, what's your take on the game?
I love how San Francisco plays. I mean, it's almost old school football. Great defense, physical in your face. They run the ball well, and then you add the dynamic of Colin Kaepernick into that with the read option, with his ability to throw. It's like 90s or 80s football, so to speak, but they're fun to watch. And I just think that their defense is so good that I think they'll have more success shutting down the Ravens offense than the Ravens will shutting down the Niners offense. And I think ultimately that's where it's going to be a difference.
One of the stories, of course, with the Ravens is that Ray Lewis is going to be his final game. But it's interesting because 12 years ago, he was on trial for murder. He ended up, copping a deal. He testified against his buddies. It really went away until now, and now it's resurfaced. The news did a big story on it. And so I imagine, as we talked about Media Day, that he's going to get grilled today by media outlets that have never, ever asked him the question. So that's going to be, I think, in a small way, it's going to diminish what he probably thought was a glorious way to go out. That's going to be hanging over his head this week.
It's a little bit of an example of if you want to do a case study on how celebrity and the media and sports figures, I mean, most people hadn't brought it up or hadn't thought about it. So I would suspect that some people have never even heard, don't even know Ray Lewis from anything other than what he is now. It's going to come up. I'm sure Ray Lewis is going to try to deflect all of it. And it was 12 years ago, and things went through the court system. But it always sort of sticks in my mind a little bit that as much as we sort of enamor Ray Lewis and admire him, and not to say that he hasn't done things that are worthy of that, there's a pretty good part of his past that wasn't quite so pleasant.
Okay, we're going to switch gears because next Wednesday, live at 8 o'clock, Paul Peck will be hosting the UB National Signing Show, which you'll be on basically with Coach Quinn, talking about all the new recruits for UB. It's going to be an exciting night.
Recruiting has become one of those things that has become such a focus of fans now. I mean, much more so maybe in the last 10 years, even at the level that UB is at in the Mid-American Conference. Granted, they're not the ESPN top 20 players in the country, but clearly you see that success of a program is built on a day like Wednesday. Can you continue filling that pipeline full of good players? And it's intriguing to get to know who those guys are, because the players that we'll talk about on Wednesday are the Khalil Macks and the Brandon Olivers of 2 to 3 years down the road, which will determine the level of success of the program. And I think we've seen Jeff Quinn to be pretty good evaluator of talent, a pretty good recruiter. So I think Bulls fans that will watch the show will see some of these names of the high schoolers and feel like the future of the team's in pretty good hands. So we'll break down all the new players and talk a little bit about them and talk a little bit about the season coming up too.
A couple weeks ago, I had a chance to sit down and interview Danny White, their athletic director, 32 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I hesitate to call him a boy wonder. Of course, when you're my age, anyway, 32 is still. But he's a very impressive individual, and he's sold on Jeff Quinn.
And I give him a lot of credit for that, because the easy decision for Danny as a new person who did not hire Jeff Quinn would be to say, well, I need my own guy in here. But what I give Danny credit for is he was at every game. He watched every game. He saw how competitive the Bulls were in almost every one of their games. He saw how much the players liked and responded to Jeff. He sees the talent level at practice to know that the kids that we haven't even heard about yet that are coming up through the ranks are going to be very good players. And I think he saw the program with a good foundation, and I think 2013 is going to be a really special year for the Bulls too, and I think he saw that too, and it wasn't the time to make a change.
Put you on the spot a little bit. Is Licata the quarterback of the future for the Bulls?
Well, I think he's going to be the quarterback going into the season. He's proven that he's a guy who may not always look pretty or may not be the most athletic guy, but he gets the job done. There are a couple of guys even on the roster right now that are the big 6'5" guys who throw the tight spirals. But, at quarterback, sometimes it's not always about that. It's about how smart you are, how much you understand what the defense is doing to, and how much you make the right decisions. And I think Joe has shown the signs towards the end of 2012 to make you feel like he has got those skills. So I think he's the guy, yes.
Okay, next Wednesday, live at 8 o'clock, right here in the studio. They're going to have the entire football team, cheerleaders, dancers.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a real college atmosphere. Paul will be the host. Jeff Quinn will be on, and some of the players.
Yep.
You get a chance to talk and look at some of the new faces that we're going to see for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think 2013 is going to be a really special year, maybe almost as special as 08 is. I'm excited about it. This is a way to kick it off.
Paul, thanks for being on the show. We'll see you next Wednesday.
My pleasure.
Paul Peck, we'll be back. More Sports Wrap-Up. We're going to talk about Tim Hortons' Backyard 3-on-3 Hockey Championship right after this. Welcome back to Sports Wrap-Up. Bob Koshinski with you. You're going to love this next feature. We were contacted a little while ago by Nick Penberthy, who is the founder of the Tim Hortons Backyard 3-on-3 Hockey Classic. They raised money for Hasek's Heroes. Our WBBZ cameras and Tim Batt were there. Take a look.
An event called the Tim Hortons Backyard Classic. It's a 3-on-3 outdoor hockey tournament. We have ages 5 all the way up through adults. We have 40-year-olds playing on different age brackets. We have over 30 teams registered this year for our tournament, which is played across 4 ice rinks, and all of it's benefiting Hasek's Heroes, which is a charity which allows children of low-income families to play hockey at no cost. It started when I was a sophomore in high school. I've had an outdoor ice rink in my backyard for my whole life. I was lucky to have that. I found the charity Hasek's Heroes, and these children, they don't have an ice rink, let alone any equipment to play hockey. So what it really ended up happening was just perfect combination, a hockey tournament benefiting a hockey charity. So I was just 4 teams that year, just me and my friends got together. We raised $500, and now we're up to this point 5 years later where we've moved to the Rose Garden restaurant. And we're very grateful for that because we're now allowed to put 4 ice rinks up instead of 2, to encompass the demand that we've faced through our growth, really. And it's amazing how fast this thing has grown. I mean, last year we didn't have any ice at all, so this is all coming off a year where we didn't even have a tournament last year. So really, you can see with the reception that we've gotten, full rinks, a complete day tournament on Sunday, that Buffalo's really a hockey town, and they're very willing to help out with the charitable cause in such a grassroots effort. We've had a bunch of help from the Buffalo Sabres. They brought out Sabres alumni Derek Smith and also Rick Sealing, who are bartending, and they did a bunch of stuff for us. Also, Sabretooth was out here working with the little guys while they were playing, so he was dropping the puck and helping shovel. And we have Doug Allen come out to sing the national anthem for our playoffs.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
these types of things help establish kind of our place in Western New York, because everybody knows the Labatt Blue tournament, but we're the next big thing, the Tim Hortons Backyard Classic, and it's because we have full-size nets and goalies, so it's 3-on-3 with the goalies, which is our unique thing that really draws a lot of people because it's actual hockey. This year we're hoping to raise over $15,000. In the past, over the last 5 years, we've raised more than $20,000, so we're almost looking to double that total. And a large part of that comes from our gold sponsors and also the Tim Hortons. They jumped on 2 years ago. They're the title sponsor and executive sponsor, and that's also helped us out a lot. They donate coffee, the donuts, and we put, when you put Tim Hortons with something hockey, it helps establish, its place in Western New York, and it speaks to how big and how great this tournament is. In the future, hopefully we'll keep on growing. We'll keep selling out the tournament, and all these teams that come out today, they're all going to come back. We know from year to year, because once you come out here once, you're never going to leave.
That took place this past Sunday, and a great job by our WBBZ photographer, Tim Batt. We'll be back to wrap up Sports Wrap-Up right after this.
Guests of Sports Wrap-Up receive a gift certificate to dine at Ilya DePaula's Restaurant and Ringside Lounge, 3785 South Park Avenue in Blaisdell.
That's going to do it for tonight's show. I'd like to thank Paul Peck, Karen Reese, and, of course, Nick Penberthy. Congratulations again with their 3-on-3 hockey tournament. Until next week, this is Bob Koshinski saying have yourself a good night and a much better tomorrow.